The Northtown News Magazine is brought to you in part by eVoter. eVoter is proud to be a sponsor of the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson, and welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
Hi, I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
I'm Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine.
For the identity of the real Marty Levinson, stay tuned to the Northtown News Magazine.
Good.
Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Come on, baby, don't you wanna go? Back to that lemon light city, sweetheart.
Hi there, I'm the real Marty Levinson. Welcome to the Northtown News Magazine show with the greatest cameraman around, Sonny Hirsch, and your host, Avi Myers.
Avi Myers, Northtown Neighborhood News Magazine. Thank you, Marty. Today is a good day. We're coming up to election time. That's always exciting. And, a bunch of you guys see this in the beginning of the show, and I don't give too much of an explanation. As a matter of fact, you probably never even heard the speech, which is on YouTube. The guy who nominated me for this award, very obscure guy who was, a couple of years ago, was one of Time Magazine's 100 most influential people in the world. But other than that, he's had very little impact on society.
Oh, you sound like you're talking to my family.
Somebody who actually puts, you know what, one of the reasons he hasn't been on for so long is he actually has some funny idea that his family should come first in life.
Yeah.
He didn't show up at the banquet because his wife was having a difficult pregnancy with their fifth child. If there's family illness, he's there at bedside, and these days you can do things remotely with computers and stuff. So somebody who actually thinks his family is important besides for doing a good job is the sheriff of Cook County, and if he's running against any opponents, they probably, whatever. He's the sheriff, I'll let him decide. Tom Dart, how you doing?
Thanks for having me on again.
First of all, my pleasure.
It's been way too long.
Yeah, for sure. But you know what? If you're going to be busy, accomplishing things in society, taking care of graves where people are buried 4 times over, and by the way, before I forget, I do want to thank Brian Town and Jane Miller very much, who have been always extremely helpful and cooperative. And and I'll get rid of my last prop. This is from the backyard. It was hiding. I didn't know it was there. They're not supposed to be this good. It's not that tasty. The sheriff does inform me it might be a felonious weapon if used.
Yes.
This is a 54.5-ounce zucchini.
Yes, very impressive. Very impressive.
Yeah, well, we'll have zucchini kogo later.
Yes, exactly. Oh, God.
Anyway, so what's there's always stuff new because you're a creative kind of guy.
Yeah, we've been keeping busy like we always do at our place, and without Brian's help, Jane's help, we probably wouldn't be able to do it. And we have a lot of people that make the office function, and obviously the day-to-day stuff, but then we're always trying to push the envelope a little bit with some of the other newer things that are a little bit different. And, that keeps us busy enough as it is, but then, as I say, you have things like cemetery issues, and that issue was about 3 months of our lives where that's all we did. So those things collectively sort of take you off your program a little bit, but we've maintained a lot of focus on the jail where we need to be, where we've managed to do quite a few things a little bit differently and we truly aren't trying to take credit ourselves. There's a million different factors, but jail populations have been going down a little bit, so it's allowed us to do things a little differently and save a lot of money, which, in county government's not the norm. So we've saved a lot. Those aren't exactly the real sexy things, but for me, those are the things that are important because the economy being what it is and families struggling like they are, they need us saving money and finding new ways to do things cheaper. So we've been doing a lot of that. But in addition to it, then we got a lot of our new things we're doing. And when I saw your zucchini, it reminded me we have 2 different gardens right now over at Cook County Jail. Nothing like that because once again, someone would beat themselves or they would beat somebody else to death with it. So we try to make sure that we keep ours a little bit more proportional.
These would be actually tastier as about 7 half-pound zucchinis.
Yeah, well, we keep ours in that range because we don't want anybody hitting each other with it. But we have 2 different gardens right now. We actually have a new greenhouse we had built so that we can do year-round growing, and actually I think it's 3 to 4 different restaurants right now, big restaurants too. One's that I don't remember, and I apologize to the other ones because I can't remember all the names, but one's the Publican, and then I believe it's Charlie Trotter's.
Wow.
Come to our gardens to get a lot of their produce that they use, and they advertise it on the menu that it comes locally grown. And
I do think Charlie Trout, you know what, even though I can't, and none of these places are kosher, I do like reading about this stuff,
Yeah.
and he's really big on doing local stuff.
yeah, and I think it's 4 different restaurants right now that are doing it, but inmates, detainees are the ones that are doing all the growing, and so they do the day-to-day things that also give them a skill.
Yeah.
So when they get out, they have a little bit more of a skill. We give them a degree because UIC comes down and trains them and gives them a degree in as master gardeners, so that they
Nice.
can then go out and maybe do some work as landscapers when they leave us. But the other part of it too is you can imagine giving somebody something constructive to do with their day as opposed to sitting around in a jail cell or sitting there watching TV. And unfortunately, they don't get the Avi Meyer show nearly as much as I'd like. I'm trying to get that pumped in there 24/7 now so I can start really changing behavior.
You don't
there.
give them canned TV, do you?
No, we give them a lot of. I actually took over. I don't mean this in a maniacal type of way, but I took over the programming of the TVs at the jail because I frankly was getting less than excited and getting quite depressed by the fact that every time I walked into the day room where the detainees were, they'd all be sitting there watching Jerry Springer and Maury and things like that, and it obviously was not pushing the types of issues and values that we'd like to see. They're pushing quite the contrary. So I got rid of that. That caused a little bit of a stink. And now I'm programming different things like the Discovery Channel and, things that have some type of educational value.
Yeah, you can actually learn from some of that stuff.
Yeah.
I enjoy that kind of stuff.
So we're putting a lot of that in, but as I say, we have not gotten the Cadillac version yet that has the Avi Meyer show on it. So we're going in that direction, and it's not true that some people said that was going to be the show that I was going to pump into the segregation room for all the guys who've been acting up. That's not true. You have to work and be privileged to get that show. But so we're doing a lot of different things like that. We're trying to come up with new spins on it. As I say, the gardens, you got to come out to the gardens.
Yeah, I'd love to.
Given your ability and everything you've shown me here, you got to do that. We're also starting to compost too, because we're trying to really get fully involved with not just the detainees, but environmental issues and things like that, so that we are
It's
doing.
easy. You know what? I didn't show you guys when you and Brian were outside just now. I didn't mean to have a compost pile. I just left some clippings and it started composting. And I've got probably about 35 or 40 pounds that were shredded carrots,
Really?
slices. And yeah, it just kind of started happening. And I saw the red wigglers. So I just took a, not exactly a rake, but like some kind of till.
Yeah.
And I just, I don't want, part of the problem, by the way, in doing it in my environment and people watching at home, people don't realize it's like rats can hide there during the winter. You don't really want that.
Well, that's why, to be honest with you, our big issue was because right when I got in office, I wanted to start doing a big push on recycling, composting, all of it. We took over the recycling, which had been farmed out to a private company, and we immediately quadrupled our profits for the county in a month.
Wow.
And then we've quadrupled it again. So we've brought in more there. But the composting was trickier for just what you said, because I initially thought, all right, this will be some low-hanging fruit. We can do it right away. And mind you, we have about 10,000 detainees every day, 3 meals a day. So we're talking about 30,000 meals a day in that place,
Wow.
and a lot of waste that goes along with it. So what we have, what I thought was going to be easy with just composting, they said we got to put the brakes on, slow it down a little bit because of the problem with mice and rats and things like that. We have now fully vetted that. We've addressed that issue, and at our boot camp, which is right by the jail, it's just a block away, we have about 400 detainees in that environment there. We are fully composting there, and we're starting to gravitate more toward trying to get the whole jail complex composting, because it's already saving us money once again and being environmentally friendly. It's one of those things, Avi, you're using your brain, which sometimes some people don't do that as often in government as I think you've noticed.
No, as a matter of fact, I noticed that a lot. One of the things, you talk about the composting, it really pays for, not only pays for itself, it's easy stuff to do, it's natural. Some of the people, in the green stuff, I think somehow that they've so gotten weird in the way they want to do things, and it becomes like a religion, a real religion to people. I think they basically infected themselves with gangrene.
Yeah.
You know, some of it is common sense values. You know, you don't waste stuff, you put stuff to use. And,
Yeah.
you know, it's not that hard.
No, it isn't. And as I said, when you...
It's probably why you get it. No, I didn't mean that in a bad way, but in other words, you haven't lost your head to all this weird stuff.
No, and I was going to say, you're 100% right. I mean, most of the stuff that we have gotten a lot of credit for is just more of the common sense stuff. The stuff that, frankly, the people and the public, they look and they say, why is government so dysfunctional? Why aren't they getting these small things? And so we've tried to look at it from that standpoint. What are the small things that your average citizen would say, well, why don't you do it that way? Why don't you try it that way? And so with the composting, things like that, that's exactly, you're 100% right. These are, I call them low-hanging fruit. These are things that, you know, we should have been doing forever, but we hadn't been doing as much of it. Now, we're fully involved with it, and we're getting a lot of positive feedback from people. And I always look at them and say, well, this was just common sense. We should have been doing this all along, and now we're racing ahead with it. And it's opened up so many other avenues for things. And once again, I mean, the amount of money we're saving in this. And just like with the feeding, for example, the tradition always had been that all the detainees the meals were carted into their divisions, and the meals were taken to their cells. They ate in their cells, and off we went, 3 meals a day. Well, when I'm wandering through one of the divisions, I'm seeing all these trays stacked up. And it was about 8 o'clock in the morning, and we start feeding people around 5, 6 o'clock in the morning.
Wow.
And so I asked our guys, I go, why haven't we fed these folks yet? All these meals are stacked up. He said, no, we have fed them. They didn't want them, so these are going. I go, so where'd those go? In the garbage. And I said, okay, and we're paying for that. Yeah. And so it turned out what had happened is a lot of the detainees we have there are not early risers. They weren't before they got in, and they certainly aren't now. When the meal would come, they would just say they'd rather sleep. They don't want to deal with it. Well, we were paying for all that. So what I did is I was able, because we did things a little bit differently, I was able to shut down one of the buildings that we had on the compound, turned it into a cafeteria, and not for everybody yet, because there's loads of issues. Some of the guys, I'll be honest with you, some of the maximum detainees you can't let out for loads of reasons. But for the other ones, the mediums and minimums, mostly on drug cases, now we make them, if they want breakfast, they got to get up, they got to leave their cell, they got to come to the dining hall, and there they eat. And we only pay for every meal that is handed to somebody. So we have cut our costs for the meals, not in half, but we have saved literally every year now. We're going to be saving, I think it's $3 to $4 million in meals, because the only people that we're paying meals for are the ones that show up and ask for a meal. The other ones were not. And there's also zero waste. So a commonsensical approach that we're doing there is just, it's going to help a great deal on a load of different levels. And we also found it helps us in a lot of other ways too, because less food in people's cells, less problems with rodents and bugs and things like that. So we have found most of these things that we're doing that are commonsensical have had these residual effects that we didn't even think about. It was like, wow, and it's all been pluses. There hasn't been any minuses to it.
Yeah, the closer you get to natural, which has nothing to do with what people call green, the better off you are.
Yeah.
It might have a little bit accidentally to do with green.
Yeah,
but,
yeah. No, it's just, as I say, common sense driven things that are saving us a lot of money. And even our laundry, we started doing our laundry now ourselves. Before it was contracted out. So about, I don't know how many months ago, we started a new thing where the detainees are doing their own laundry. We're doing it on the compound, saving us $750,000 a year for that. And, and I always tell people too, I was like, listen, at my house, my wife does the majority, but I do quite a bit of the laundry. If I can do the laundry, they can do the laundry. And it's the same thing with the food. I can't recall last time, I had breakfast in bed. I have absolutely no recollection of it ever happening. So that being the case, I am not going to be giving the detainees breakfast in bed. They want to get breakfast. You got to get up out of bed. You got to come to us. We're not coming to you. So a lot of it is, they say, pragmatic. A lot of it helps environmentally. Loads of it helps revenue-wise. But then the other part is also more of a statement, too, that, we're not here to cater to people. You're here because it's alleged you committed a crime. This is not the Ritz-Carlton. We're going to treat people with respect, dignity, all the rest. But at the same time, too, this is not supposed to be a fun place where, I can't wait to get back. Breakfast in bed. Oh, it's the greatest place to go. So, no, we don't do that. So it's a combination of those things that are going on in the jail now that are neat. And you got to come out to the garden. It's just a really impressive thing. It's all done by the detainees, and the tons and tons of produce every year that we had been giving most of it to the Greater Food Depository and some shelters. Now, still doing some of that, but we've increased our output, and now a lot of it's going to these private companies which are taking our produce and paying us for it. So we're getting money now too. So all that stuff works.
Yeah, and people don't even realize how good it is when it's that fresh and that immediate and all that. It's
Oh, you know, there's something about buying local, and it's just been picked hours ago. It hasn't. There's virtually no chemicals involved, no nothing. I mean, it's really what you'd want.
you know, it's really, it makes a big difference. I know myself, if I just pluck a tomato and I start eating it, because I've got them like less than 100 feet away, it helps. I just need to get somebody to water my lawn. Maybe we'll get one of your, next time I go to
you
Lakewood,
gotta call
New
me.
Jersey.
I'll come by and water next time.
I appreciate that. I really do.
Really, it's not that hard for me to get here.
Now, you also had a series on the Discovery Channel where they were doing stuff about you guys.
We have 2 series that are going on now, and a third one that they're filming. Well, actually, a fourth too. Discovery Channel came out, did I think 3 or 4 episodes on us. More or less a documentary type style of the jail, how it's operating, things like that. We have a second, MSNBC came out, a program called The Squeeze that they put together, which talks primarily with we have a unit in the jail that's our intelligence unit that gains information through numerous sources from the detainees. And the detainees are usually more than happy to talk to us. And it sounds strange, but they are, because they're looking for an extra sandwich. Oh, you tell me what's going on in the street, I'll give you an extra sandwich. They're looking to have something done to help their case that they have right now. It's like, okay, well, you know, we'll talk to the judge on the record about your cooperation in your drug case if you help us on these 2 homicides. So we're able to get a lot of information there. And what this show did, it showed not necessarily our techniques, but it showed that we were doing that, and then how that information was then filtered out to the street into our gang units. We give Chicago information as well, but in our gang units in the suburbs, and how we then operated and utilized that information to make a lot of arrests on the street and solve some pretty big crimes. So that show is out there. That show got a bunch of awards too from the cable awards. Probably not as many as you've gotten, but we got quite a few.
Well, 3 plus 1 thanks to you.
I tell you what, long overdue. And,
Thank you.
We then have the Oprah's.
Oh, and by the way, it was great working with the guys from the Illinois State Crime Commission, too.
Oh, aren't they fantastic?
Yeah.
Jerry Elsner is an amazing guy. Honestly, God, he works his tail off. He really believes in this stuff, and he's also a great. He's into the boxing. He's also into wrestling as well. I think he does a lot of grappling as well.
He started. I mean, there's a guy in his 60s who's had like open heart, whatever.
Yeah.
And this guy's busy. He's doing mixed martial arts combat fighting.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And by the way, you gave everybody boxing T-shirts from the Illinois Athletic League or whatever.
Yes. He's big in the boxing, the Greco-Roman wrestling, all of it. He does everything. But he's an amazing guy. But he.
And Wanda Bronchi too high.
Yes, yes, yeah. But I mean, we've been really busy lately at our place, and have a pretty busy agenda going forward, and it's exciting. People think I'm somewhat insane, and because I love my job so much. I really do. It's a lot of challenges. The only downside are the hours, that it keeps me away sometimes from the kids, but I make sure I always make time for them and the rest. But the job's exciting because we're doing so many things that are beneficial to our communities.
Yeah, speaking of the job and all that, there was some guy in Washington, Barack somebody, that was trying to pressure you to become a U.S. Senator.
Yeah, there was a lot of people wanting me to go in that direction. But as you and I had talked about before, my wife and I have 5 children. The oldest just turned 9 last week. The youngest is 1 year and 2 months, and then 3 in between. There's no way that this would have worked for my family. And when they were talking about it, my father was very sick at the time too, and my sister and my mom, we were all working around the clock on that. So it just, family reasons, it didn't make any sense. And then, as I always told people, it's not as if I'm getting the booby prize. I love my job. I love what I'm doing. We're making a real positive difference in people's lives. And I talk mostly about the jail because that's so much of the job, but in the other sides that we do, the areas of evictions and the like, we're doing some pretty innovative things there. And
as a matter of fact, that's originally what brought you to the limelight. And by the way, speaking of boring in the jail, that's what got you to be Time Magazine's 100 most influential. Although Brian did ask me to vote for you, so I guess that one vote put you over.
Yeah, true Chicago fashion, we were going to try to rig it. Yeah, I was a little bit concerned at first, frankly, when they had told me about the Time Magazine award and all that. I honestly thought it was friends of mine sort of messing around with me with prank phone calls and the like, because I would have done the same to them. But once it was clear that wasn't the case, and they told me there was an online aspect of it, I was thinking, oh my God, no, if it's being left to an online type of vote, God only knows who the 100 people are going to be. And then at one point on the online thing, I was neck and neck with the Octomom. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, oh no, please, this can't work. But then the Time people made it clear to everyone that's more of a fun little poll that they do, but the actual voting on it is done by editorial people and the like. And I was like, oh my God, thank you. This would have been a tough one to live down if the Octomom knocked me off. So it worked out, and that was interesting. But as I said, the different things we've done, we have a lot more that we have coming up. And a lot of the issues, we feel that we've pushed aren't quite there yet. And it's one of the reasons I like where I'm at and want to stay where I'm at, is that I want to finish some of these things that we have done right now. I mean, there's a couple of things that are interest to me, but I want to bring some things to completion. And just with some of the areas that we've been working on with that prostitution and Craigslist and the like, we moved the ball, but not far enough.
I want to mention to you, because it was just in the Tribune today, the Tribune ran a big story about Craigslist, and some attorney generals from a number of states are trying to, when you first brought up the Craigslist thing, you know what? I went to Craigslist, mm-hmm. I called up one of the ads, and it sounded like a fairly innocent ad, yeah. Okay? Jewish girl, whatever. I hope there aren't too many Jewish girls like this. So anyway, I started talking to her, and, we got on the phone, and I said, this isn't the usual kind of conversation I have. Yeah. Tell me, are you a professional? Yeah. And she says, Avi, this is Craigslist. Wake up.
Well, that's what, when we came across this whole Craigslist prostitution connection.
Yeah, you're the one who originally came out with it.
Oh, exactly. And to be honest with you, I'm glad the attorney generals are all working on stuff, but we were about a year or so ahead of everybody, which is no offense to anybody. We're the frontline people. They're sort of one step removed. So we were seeing on the street what was going on, and so that's where it became clear, all right, this is being misused by prostitutes, pimps, and the rest of it. Let's start working with Craigslist to eradicate this. And it became abundantly clear that they knew about it, and they wanted nothing to do with changing anything. And so that's when I sued them and got pretty vocal about it. And then the attorney generals came on sometime after that, and I was glad for the help because we needed it. And
this is actually a third or fourth wave now.
Yeah, and we've got a couple of things we're about to start doing with them as well, because we're not giving up on it. And because it really hasn't gotten better. They dressed it up a little bit, and it isn't just them either, because there's a couple other sites out there too that really, they have only one purpose, and it's for prostitution. And as I've often told people, we've done hundreds, and we're getting close to 1,000 arrests based on these online sites that we go to, and it's usually the same shtick, Avi, where it's like massage or whatever the heck they're advertising. I've told them, I go, listen, we've shown up for our massage appointments, and guess what? Out of the 600 or 800 times we've showed up, we've never had one massage offered to us. Guess what? I go, I don't think we've just been so lucky that I go, no, we all know what's going on here. Yeah. And that's why it's been so frustrating with these folks. They know what's going on too, but they're making so much money off of it that they don't want to change their behavior. And they honest God, they make me want to scream, because they sit there and they say, well, we're actually helping law enforcement. I go, well, work with me on this one. How are you helping me? They said, well, we're actually giving you all the information you need to make the arrest in the prostitute. And I said, well, here, newsflash for you, partner. We've never had any problems arresting prostitutes. It's actually quite easy. The difficulty is that when you're trying to get the really bad people, which is not the prostitutes, it's the ones behind them, the pimps and the rest of them, trying to get them, now that they have the internet provided by you to hide behind, it is very difficult, if not impossible, to get the really bad people. So no, you've done nothing to help us. You've made our lives miserable. And so here's how you can help me. You can start putting up this type of monitoring device or this or that. And I've often told them, if I was asking them to do something completely outrageous, over the top, where I'm saying, listen, eliminate your whole site, lose all your, no. I said, listen, take all your millions, and they made millions. They made, I think, 6 or 9 million last year or something like that. Take all your millions. They had, I think, 14 employees. It was all they had throughout the nation. Said, take all your millions you've made and hire 10 to 20 people max. I'm not asking for a lot. Who all they do is they have training, they have a little background, they sit on there, and if certain ads pop up that are clearly prostitution, that they will knock them off and they'll be removed from there. And I said, then, you know what, folks, I'll stand with you at a press conference and say, listen, they're trying. Is it perfect? Have they caught every prostitution ad? No, they haven't, and there will always be ways around certain things. But at least they've joined forces and said, listen, this is horrible, what's going on, we're trying to deal with it. And when people have said, well, you know, this is just, you know, the oldest profession, it's adults. I say, no, it's not adults. We're arresting children, you know, 13, 14-year-old girls on this thing, and girls who have been raped when they thought they were responding to a modeling ad. Next thing you know, some guy's throwing them in a hotel room. And so I said, the difficulty is there is virtually no truth in any of the ads that you have. When you go on there, the picture's not necessarily the person that's going to be there. The services aren't exactly what they said they're going to be. I said, if there was truth there, then of course I would just scan the site looking for the underage children who are being put on this. But there's no truth. They don't advertise, I am a 10-year-old and here's my birth certificate. No, they'll say young girl. Well, they all say they're young girls. You show up there, the young girl turns out to be 35. The young girl turns out to be 45. The young girl turns out to be 15. We don't know because there's no truth. And it's not like later on and go, I'm going to sue you because your advertisement for the massage, A, wasn't a massage, and B, you said she was attractive, and she wasn't attractive. You can't do that. So we'll continue this battle with them. We got a lot to do still.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, in Sonny's beat, I didn't even mention Sonny earlier. Sonny Hirsch, our entire technical
How
crew.
could we not? Technical, he's the director, he's the producer, he does it all.
Yeah, but he
Gives you all your cue cards that you work off of?
And by the way, he also did the logo for the show. In his spare time, he actually created me as Dr. Frankenstein.
Oh, God love you.
But he is also the chairman of the District Advisory Committee of the 24th District. And the last massage parlor busted was in the beat that he runs, 2413.
Fantastic. Congratulations, Sonny. I wish we could have more of that. Yes.
Through no fault of my own.
Yes, I know. But yeah, so we a lot of stuff on the agenda, Avi. A real busy next 6 or 8 months, definitely. And as you said before, we have all this election stuff floating around too. And I have an opponent, but we're just going to move full speed ahead on what our job is. And if you have to campaign. But I really, truly, always have felt that the best campaigning you can do is just do your job really well. And by doing that, then people take notice, and then they like you and they vote for you. And if you're having to trump it up and get all these really slick ads and all the rest of the stuff because your background is so weak and you've just never accomplished anything, well, then shame on everybody. But the voters are pretty in tune, and they can understand this stuff.
Yeah, by the way, you've also been endorsed all 3 times you've run in my area from Jewish Chicago.
Yes,
and
thank you.
I haven't even mentioned, well, first of all, good taste on my part. And Jewish Chicago is coming out right near the beginning of early voting, so, look for it for free at your newsstand and all that. And I can't imagine you're not being endorsed again, but I got to find out who your opponent's name is first.
As soon as I find out, I'll let you know.
I think that can probably be looked up. You got a website?
I do. I have a sheriff's office website. I can't remember it off the top of my head. It's very easy to find. Trust me. I don't want to mislead people here on the preface of it, but it's the Sheriff Cook County, and you'll find it in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty good one, and it's pretty elaborate on everything there. I don't have a campaign website or anything like that. I have my office one for all my office-related work. And as I say, we didn't open up a campaign office for my primary, and I don't know if we spent any money, and I don't think we're going to open up one here. We're really honestly just focused on the job and continue to do some of these things. There's a lot to do. There is. And the people deserve it. They pay our salaries, and my God, in these economic times we're in right now, we better earn every penny of it.
Yeah. So you're getting less. Well, actually, you've got less than a minute left. So we can't open too big a topic. Are you getting the same amount? You got cut from the county, or does not know so much?
My 3 years in office, I've been cut every year. I understand those dynamics. This coming year, it's going to be pretty bad for everybody, not just me. They're looking at about a $300 and some million hole in the budget. So They were talking about a 10% cut to everybody, which would be a huge cut for us. It'd be in the neighborhood of, oh God, I think about 40-some million. And as I say, we've been cutting every year. I've been holding back on filling positions in certain areas so we wouldn't have to lay people off in the event of budget cuts, but it's going to be tough.
Anyway, I want to wish you a lot of luck. I want to thank Brian Town for bringing you. I want to thank Jade Miller for all her help in getting you over here, too. I want to good luck to you. And
thanks so much for having me
the
on.
5 kids, the wife, and continued good health and all the rest of it in the family or whatever.
And your friend Mr. Kapoor's 85th birthday is today, too. I don't know.
Mazel tov.
Yes.
And Sonny Hirsch, thank the entire technical crew. Thank you so much, everybody. Bye-bye.
Thanks.